We ready?
Crazy.
Let's do it.
Hold on. Hello.
1 2 1 2. Testicles. Testicles 1 2. They both there. Let's do it. Hit me. I'm late. Posse up. It's the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
And this week, Posse up.
Ooh.
We talking about them posses. Now, we are a show about hip hop, and we always come at you from a North Carolina angle because that's where we are. That's what we seen growing up. So, the importance of belonging to a posse has always been a big deal in the hip hop game. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
You got a crew, then your chances of making it have just increased. Mm-hmm. If somebody from your crew is already doing it, or the crew is hot and you get to be a part of that crew. Mm-hmm. So, we'll start by saying we had a fine example of this in North Carolina years ago with Payroll Records. It was the springboard, being a part of that crew. Now, here's the deal. When you get posse'd up, a lot of times that posse will revolve around a record label, a producer, or a known artist. One of those three things, right? Mm-hmm. Be the centerpiece of the posse.
Right.
In North Carolina with Payroll Records, I would say that Roland Jones, the owner of the record label, was the centerpiece of that posse. Mm-hmm. But being a part of that posse helped a lot of people. Narbonne, moving on to Plateau, next Plateau Records, big hit Versatility. Entice moves on to have a great career from Payroll Records. Started there. Busy Boys. You got Fanatic out here producing for Michael Jackson and Ski Beats out here producing for Jay-Z, but they start at Payroll Records, and they were the Payroll Posse at one time. Mm-hmm. And they're not the only people. There are others, whether closely affiliated from the beginning or became affiliated later over time. You had Mark Sparks come out there, Omniscience, like lots of people were associated with the posse. And with that being said, we're talking posses tonight. Now, you remember when Crush Groove came out, the movie? A lot of people don't know that Curtis Blow was the centerpiece for a lot of those cats back in the day. Like Ryan from Run DMC used to DJ for Curtis Blow. Mm-hmm. As a child. Russell was managing him, I think. But the artist was Curtis Blow.
Right.
The manager was Russell. He went on to start a label later, but originally he didn't have a label. Right. He had Curtis Blow. Mm-hmm. And he was doing the production. So, all those people you saw in the movie, Fat Boys, it's Curtis Blow producing the Fat Boys. Mm-hmm. Run was Curtis Blow's little protege. Right. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He helped start that posse off, and they showed you the way that they helped build this thing in the movie. Later on, turned into Def Jam Records. Right. But that wasn't, Curtis Blow. But I'm saying, without Curtis Blow, does any of this get as big as it gets? He was the original. The original artist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sugar Hill had a posse of artists, but I don't know how much I can call them a posse because they weren't necessarily always hanging around each other. You had Grandmaster Flash, he also had Sugar Hill Gang, but to my knowledge, they weren't always posse'd up. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But let's talk about some people that were. Remember the Juice Crew?
Yes, sir.
That was a posse. Mm-hmm. Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, Master Ace, Craig G, Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie. Right. That's a posse right there. You just one of them,
Diss them all.
You did some all right on.
Right.
And later on, Boogie Down Productions.
Mm-hmm.
It was more than just KRS and Scott LaRock.
Right.
A posse formed out of that. You know, they had D-Nice, Heather B.
Miss Melody.
Yeah, I said Heather B. I'm sorry, Heather. I'm sorry, Heather B. I didn't mean to confuse you with Miss Melody. But Miss Melody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kenny Parker. You know, you diss any one of them.
Right.
Then you get the full wrath of the entire Boogie Down Productions crew.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's a posse. Flavor Unit. Moving up a little bit. A lot of people forget that Queen Latifah was part of the Flavor Unit. This is the movement with De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, the Jungle Brothers. Is that it? Nope. Right. Only Love. You know, this is the original before they hold up. Was that okay? They were all together on Buddy, the remix of Buddy.
My Buddy. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The entire posse.
Okay.
And let me double check that. I'm trying to think. Were they calling themselves?
Did they undergo a name change?
Right. I don't know. No. I think there was another name for that group. What was the name of that posse? I'm feeling stupid right now.
Yeah. You gotta remember, because I don't think that's something you can just Google.
I know. Pause that. I'm gonna get it right.
No, we're gonna talk about. I was gonna go back to North Carolina real quick while you look that
up. Go back.
Dreamville.
Native Tongues was the original posse.
Oh,
Queen
okay.
Latifah spin off, started her own Flavor Unit. You know, that was a whole different group that she was a part of. You know, Apache and all them cats, but Native Tongues. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. You know,
at least you got it.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying, I gotta apologize. Like, for me being in the game this long, Native Tongues should be on the top of my tongue, the tip of my tongue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Native Tongues, Moni Love, De La Soul, Queen Latifah, Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest. Later on, Queen Latifah, Flavor Unit. I think was Naughty by Nature part of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think they were affiliated. I don't know if they was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real close though.
Right. So you know, posses, man. The posse game.
Yeah. Like
if you get one big act, all the associated acts get a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the Boot Camp clique.
Oh, God. Yeah, man.
You know, Black Moon.
One of my favorites.
We heard Black Moon first.
Yeah.
And they're the centerpiece.
Yes, sir.
But Helter Skelter don't get that foot in the door. You don't hear Smith & Wesson without the success of Black Moon.
And you know, it's crazy because a couple weeks ago I went back and listened to all the Boot Camp clique stuff, and you can tell who was the centerpiece because of the mixing and the production, the final product that was
Evil
released.
D. Evil D was behind all of that.
Yeah, but you can hear
Drew High was the other guy.
Yeah, you could hear the difference between the albums. The first.
Oh, you mean like when they're all in sync working together?
No, when they all, each one of the groups that were a part of the posse released their first, like you listen to that OGC first album or Helter Skelter first album, it didn't sound like the first one from
Black Moon.
It was
but I could tell that was
polished.
Right. They were polished, but you could tell that sound. They share the sound.
Yes.
And that's one thing that you'll notice. A lot of these posses share a producer or two.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the Wu.
Yeah. And the Wu-Tang itself was a posse.
Yes.
So they started off
right.
as a posse. It wasn't like, hey, we're the group and we're just going to, you know, there were a lot of spinoffs, but that whole posse had solo artists galore. Yeah. Like, think about how many, like, it's very rare that you get a group that puts that many solo artists out. So they were a posse from the giddy up.
And that many classics.
Yeah, Meth, Raekwon, Ghostface,
Genius.
the Jizza,
yeah, man.
the RZA,
Right.
Like they all dropped solo albums. Even You God,
Yep.
Capadonna.
Right.
Like they all had. So that the power inside of that posse was insane. But best believe, think you're gonna go somewhere and smack Capadonna and not have to deal with the rest of the Wu.
Right.
I think that's the thing we're gonna use to define whether who we talking about is a posse or not.
Yeah.
Can you step to one of them without having to deal with the rest of them?
Right. Right.
If you cannot,
Yeah, leave it alone.
it's a posse. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You make a diss track for one,
Yeah.
you're dealing with everybody else.
Absolutely.
Shoot, Bad Boy. Bad Boy had a posse mentality there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, shoot, you come for one of them dudes, you dealing with the whole crew now.
Name one.
Right.
For real.
Right. And they had a strong posse right there. And of course the centerpiece was Puff.
Yes.
And a host of producers. It wasn't just
Right.
like one. You know what I'm saying? There was a million of them dudes, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of everybody, Juice Crew is my favorite posse. Or maybe the Wu.
From that region.
Period.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Yeah. And the Dungeon Family. Speaking of posse, the Dungeon Family is another when you become a fan of a posse, it almost don't matter who's which people today, if you listening and all you've ever done is stream or got downloads and whatnot, what you're missing is the art of going to the record store. Sometimes you have no idea what you're gonna buy that day.
Right.
But when there was a posse affiliation, you would rock with it. I remember I bought T. La Rock's album just because he had La Rock in his name. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew that somewhere down the line, he was connected some kind of way with Scott La Rock, which made him somehow connected loosely to the BDP crew. So I bought it because he's a La Rock. Must be good.
Right.
It wasn't that great. But
boy, I gotta say something.
What's that?
So this was we 10 minutes in. 5 minutes before we started recording, we came up with this list of the posses, right? And the biggest motherfucking posse that we didn't mention on this list.
Ooh, I got my pencil out. What's up?
My No Limit Soldiers.
Oh,
I told you, my No Limit Soldiers.
Yeah, No Limit posse. Okay,
Bro, we can't even name them all. Just say A to Z.
Well, we're gonna talk about here's the thing. Posses get bigger and bigger and bigger, but the ones that you can't mess with.
That Tank.
Here go the ones that you can't mess with without getting some major feedback immediately. Master P, Silk the Shocker, C Murder,
Woo.
Mia X. Those
And Mystical.
Mystical was later.
Yeah,
Like Mystical wasn't the day one.
Original. Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right,
Mystical is
much later.
yeah. For as far as being down with them, but he was a New Orleans legend.
Yeah.
Like Mystical had been going back and forth with a group called UNLV, which that's early, and it's not technically Cash Money, but Manny Fresh.
Right.
Manny Fresh was affiliated with them. They going back and forth with Mystical a long time before you ever heard of Master P.
Right. You right.
You the whole Mystical, UNLV.
Yeah.
But
when I first heard him, I thought the basketball team had a track out.
nah, that was somebody else.
Larry Jackson.
That was somebody else. But best believe with that No Limit posse, those original day ones right there.
God. Yeah.
You're not touching none of those people.
Right.
Without problems. That's a posse. And then they kept getting bigger and bigger. And you gotta understand, when you take a town like New Orleans, when Master P is bringing this money into the economy,
right?
You see what I'm saying? When No Limit is jumping off, the whole city, like I don't know if cities recognize how much money a popular rapper or a posse can bring to your economy.
Right.
Like New Orleans had Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
They got the Saints.
Right.
But the kind of money that's and attention that was coming to New Orleans after No Limit.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yes, sir.
It spilled over into Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You see what I'm saying? And New Orleans got so popping that Baton Rouge got in.
Right. Like, would you have a Boosie?
Boosie and Webby and these cats.
Would
like,
you have them?
I don't know if this happens without.
Right.
And Mystical was out before all of them, but he was so solo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like the way we had Petey Pablo.
Right.
If he had a posse,
man,
then maybe there would have been a movement.
Right.
But when you just get the one artist, you know what I'm saying? And he doesn't come out and always have a group of people around him who's always making records with.
Right.
Then the area doesn't get the full benefit. Mm-hmm. You know, so when Mystical was hot, they weren't just going down looking for more Mysticals in New Orleans.
Right.
Master P gets hot, he bring you Silk Shaka, C Murder, Mia X.
Yeah.
All these Young Bleed, all these people.
Right.
Then Skullduggery.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So him bringing that puts more eyes on the area.
Right.
Which help shine a light on Cash Money too.
So why hasn't Dreamville done it for North Carolina? Now, granted, Dreamville is not made up of.
It's because J. Cole is also a solo cat. He didn't come out with a crew. There was no, when we've been listening to J. Cole for years before the Dreamville movement started.
Right, right.
And he's always been a solo artist, just like the Baby, just like Petey Pablo.
But do you think if that was the reverse, if Dreamville was made up of Carolina artists, do you think the trajectory of it would be different?
I think if J. Cole had come out and we heard, like, let's say J. Cole was a dude who was a part of a group of similarly talented artists, and he happened to be the one that got the break, then about 1 or 2 years in, the rest of his crew would have been on the map. Okay. But since he was solo, then there is no light shining on Fayetteville. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right.
So I think that's all that is.
Okay.
That's all that is.
Okay.
Same thing with Rhapsody. If she used to be a part of a dope girl group and all those girls are still rapping and she was coming up, then they would have gotten their chance too. Okay. It's be like, whoa, Goldsboro kind of jumping. She got a posse from Goldsboro.
I mean, Snow Hill, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Snow Hill. We got this habit down here when you're from a small town, you always tend to go to the big one. You tend to lean to the closest larger thing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The farther you get away. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you back home, like I'm from Tarboro, but then I see people, after a while they just say Rocky Mount. Yeah. And then after a while it's like North Carolina, from North Carolina. Right. They don't even bother trying to explain that Tarboro or Princeville, I'm from Princeville, right next to Tarboro. Yeah. Where? Tarboro, right near Rocky Mount. Where? Yeah. Rocky Mount, near Raleigh. Yeah. You mean I got to go all the way to Raleigh to get you to know where I'm from? So, yeah, Snow Hill in the house, though. Big shout out, Snow Hill. Mm-hmm. How about when the artist... Okay, we still on the posse tip. Yeah. Eminem. Mm-hmm. He had posse. Mm-hmm. He had the D12. Mm. He had the Slaughterhouse crew. But all these definitely define as posses because you won't mess with Obi Trice or none of them cats. Right. Or messing with M without dealing with them. Yeah. So they definitely...
See, I don't know a lot about. I know D12 was there early in Eminem's career,
but that's what happens when you get an artist who came from a group of people.
See, that's what I was going to ask.
That's the difference.
He did come.
That's
from
the difference in Eminem and J. Cole.
He did come from the group.
Well, they always been down. They've been down like, some of them brought Eminem in the game. Proof, like he always credits Proof with bring him into that collective.
Okay. So the movie was true.
Yeah, the movie was true.
Okay.
That was accurate.
Okay, gotcha.
So he blew up, and here they come.
Right.
You never would have heard Bizarre kick a rhyme.
Yeah. But
without Eminem.
Do you think that coming with Eminem kind of shadowed what they could have done?
No. I think Eminem was, he was the guy that had to come up. Mm-hmm. Now, Slaughterhouse was a different story.
Yeah, because all them guys had careers before.
Yeah, they were self-made. Yeah, and they came together, but they were posse for a little while.
Yeah, then egos and all
they couldn't. Yeah, that's what happens when you take guys who already got their own backstory already. It's like, hey man, I'm coming to be a part of this. Yeah, I'm the man. Right. Every last one of us like, I'm the man.
Yeah.
Joe Budden's like, I made it pump it up. And you know what I'm saying? I forget, I don't need no Eminem.
Yeah.
And they all, they were all fine on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think Death Row definitely posse'd up.
Yeah.
Over time. But, as you look at some of these documentaries, you realize that a lot of them they didn't necessarily want to be a posse. Like when I say posse in the form of Suge starting beefs, then I don't think they all wanted part of his beefs.
They had to.
But they had to.
Hell yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
If you ain't deal with them, you got to deal with me.
You had to. Pop was down. Once he got in, it was like, yo, I'm ride or die.
Right.
And if you ain't ride or die, you can get the hell on.
Like G-Unit.
G-Unit is a posse. Woo. That's a posse.
You ain't have no choice.
Yayo and Banks.
From day one.
Hey man,
well,
you're not gonna be talking bad about 50.
Yeah, because I think Yayo introduced Banks to 50.
Yeah, and they tried to bring Young Buck into it, and he just didn't understand the rules.
Oh yeah,
that wasn't his posse.
And the game. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He was from a different posse.
Yeah, I think it was Prodigy who told the story of how they just had to adapt to having all this beef with their colleagues, which was other New York artists once they put that G-Unit chain on.
Oh, yeah, you had to adapt. Yeah. It's like, now, okay, I'm going to put this on, now I got beef.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But they was ready for it, they said.
Yeah. How about we've been through Death Row. How about the Dipset posse?
Yeah.
That's a posse.
Yeah, originally
they got
Taliban.
And they got dudes. They got dudes in Dipset that kind of rap, but they just so connected with the people that it's like I think sometimes I think they just say like, look, man, you so down with the posse.
Right.
Let me just get on the mic and say something. But yeah, there was a bunch of them dudes, man.
Absolutely.
Like way more than just Jim Jones, Joel Santana, and Cam.
Right.
Like
Hell,
they were
Rail,
always popping up, man. They were always popping up somewhere.
Yeah. Harlem World.
That Harlem crew, it's hard to like with Harlem, man, because it almost feels like everybody from Harlem was part of the same posse. Because even though I don't know how close they all were, but as an outsider,
but they came.
It always felt like cats from Harlem were, Harlem versus everybody.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
Children of the Corns would actually start with Cam, Big L, a few other cats. I can't remember their names right now.
Right, and they always were distinctly separate from Brooklyn, Queens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you ever been in New York and Harlem Day and Brooklyn Day, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Brooklyn Day is different though.
How about you remember the Hieroglyphics crew?
Hearing people talk about it,
yeah. That was Dell the Funky Homo Sapien, Souls of Mischief. Domino was part of that crew, too. Hold up, we were going through the Death Row talking about how if you in the beef, you got to be in, but
right.
that posse, like, think about this. You talking about Snoop, Tupac, the Dog Pound, that dude Danny Boy. But shoot, even that little group right there and Suge,
right?
You mess with one of them,
yeah.
You mess with all of them.
Absolutely.
And Snoop didn't. You could tell Snoop didn't really want to be involved in beefing.
None of that.
But
right.
I mean, you know, he was so closely affiliated that when they started dissing the rest of them, he got dissed with them too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But let's go to one of my favorite posses of all time, man. That's the doggone Dungeon Family.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you brought it back down.
You said, you said Organized Noise earlier, and Organized Noise was production crew. Rico Wade did a lot of the productions for them, who is related to Future.
Okay.
So Future is loosely affiliated with the Dungeon Family, along with Goody Mob, Outkast, Witch Doctor, Cool Breeze, Sleepy Brown.
Right. Closely affiliated, because they say as a
that's
young
fam, man. He was always right there.
Yeah.
You know, I saw an interview with Gip from the Goody Mob talking about. He said he remembers when Future became Future. He said they did a show in Kansas or somewhere, and he said he came back. He's like, "Yo, from this point on, I'm Future."
Right.
And so, I mean, hey, he's Dungeon fam.
Yes, sir.
And that was a deep posse. But you know what? They did not beef with people.
No.
That's that cool, laid-back Southern style, homeboy.
Absolutely. And they were too, what's the word I'm looking for? Too, I hate to use the word intelligent, but if you
hate to use the word intelligent.
I'm just saying because I don't want to downplay, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people hear you use the word intelligent, like, oh, they was a bunch of squares.
Oh, right. No, they just... Yeah. It seemed like they came from good upbringing.
Yes, sir.
I met a lot of those dudes, man. Like, just see. Here's the thing: being from North Carolina, Southern artists grew up closer to the way we grew up.
Right.
So it was easier to relate to them as they were getting popular. When Southern artists would come through and visit the station back in the day, I would, it was easy to hit it off with them. We speak the same language in a sense.
Right. Whether you were on the radio or not.
Right. Just,
right.
Those cats, like, it was hard to relate to somebody who grew up in high-rise projects.
Yeah.
In a city that they could live in that city their whole life and never leave it.
Right.
And experience the world.
Yeah.
That's hard to relate to for somebody who grew up in places where you had to travel sometimes to another city to experience things. There's nothing you couldn't experience.
So you saying that's why New York cats didn't really respect us? I'm just asking. That's the excuse.
I think that, hey man, when you come from that type of environment and everything is supersized.
Right.
Crime is supersized. The drug problem is supersized. The poverty is supersized.
Population.
The city is supersized. Yes. The population is supersized. The buildings are supersized. So all of a sudden, everything else seems small and insignificant.
Right.
But, you saw the attitude change over time. And it took people like, I think the thing that made a lot of hip hoppers respect game outside of New York was seeing people who were truly as hard and gangster as they were.
Yes.
Look at the disrespect that was thrown at MC Hammer back in the day.
Yeah.
But then you find yourself in Oakland.
Well, you had to lean on one of them cats.
And you realize that while you thinking
and nothing to play with.
Right. Yeah. And then you find out that Hammer
super thug
commands a larger army than anybody you know in New York.
Yeah.
Or you see what I'm saying? You might know somebody that got Left Rack Projects on lock. Nah, Hammer got the whole city of Oakland on his back.
Yes, sir.
And nobody in the city is gonna let you talk bad. You could move from Lefrak to Queensbridge, and you out of your territory already.
Right.
Nah, you get out the airport. You get out of the airport in Oakland, and you better not say nothing bad about P.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I think people seeing that made them help New York to realize that it's not just about.
Right.
Wasn't just about them, and there were other people getting it in.
Well, I'm probably going to receive some comments on this. 'Cause I've been getting a lot of comments on my New York comments. And, with hip-hop, during this progression and growth, recognize that it's leaving and headed somewhere else. You have no choice but to embrace the somewhere else. And I think that
they did.
Yeah.
Did.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, And who was it? I think it was Trinidad James, and Trinidad James got a lot of flack when he said, "Yo, I'm in New York, and I got New York gets rapping my song." Like, he was blown away. They took it as a sign of disrespect that he said that. But you got to think about it. This guy's in Atlanta, and probably the only thing he's known is that, first of all, don't trust them. Second of all, they don't respect you. And for him to see it in that audience at that whatever club he was at or wherever he was performing, like, I think he had a moment of realization that the music was bigger than attitudes. That's the way I took it, but I can understand what Trinidad James was saying.
A lot of artists, like, the bar back in the day is like, look, man, if you could get those New York cats, if they like you, then everybody else will too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk to Ski and Fanatic, we talk about how it felt in the 80s. Have a song playing on the radio in New York.
Right.
That was huge.
But I wonder how many times did they say they was from North Carolina. And that's not a question for you to answer. But
and you have to wonder at that time, what would it have done to the momentum?
Right.
Like I remember being concerned about that a little bit when me and my brother were working on a record deal, and we had a show to do in New York on Jones Beach. And I was like, I don't know if I want to take a North Carolina artist trying to break.
You sold out to
at Jones Beach. And we opening for Biggie. Like, you see what I'm saying?
And you ain't want to rep your city.
Hey, man, at the time, there was more to it than just that. But at the time, considering that the song that we had was kind of like a Carolina anthem, I was like, I know how New York crowds are. I don't think they gonna
you
open.
Know how they was hating back then.
Yeah, I knew how it was back in 94, 95. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah, like, I'm not giving. I don't think this the place to premiere a North Carolina anthem at Jones Beach. You know what I'm saying? That ain't.
It might not have been received the same just because it wasn't New York.
Nah, you might rock that maybe A&T Homecoming.
Right.
Aggie Fest.
Right.
But maybe funny, Bite Week.
It's funny you say that because I had a conversation today with a young boy from New York, and we were having the New York, North Carolina debate about music, and for a moment, he was actually trying to argue with me that J. Cole was from New York. He repped the city. I said, bro, when?
I don't ever remember him rapping.
No, but that was part of my argument that J. Cole saved New York hip hop at the time that he can't, because so many people just associated him with being from New York until he started screaming Vietnam and North Carolina and every other bar.
Right.
They just automatically assumed, you know what I'm saying, that he was from New York. And I was like, wow.
And that was how you got in back in the day. You come out and you're very quiet. If you weren't from New York, you were quiet about where you were from, and you just hope you get over.
Right.
And then eventually, you think about the early cats that start repping their little areas first. Like, you remember Cardinal Official coming out of Canada.
Yeah.
Like before Drake.
Mm-hmm. Who was checking for Canada.
It's Cardinal Official.
Yeah. Right.
He was the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and can you imagine how huge he was in Canada if he was this big here?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But you turned me on to him because I had never heard of him.
Yeah. Drake will tell you.
Yeah,
Drake
yeah.
will tell you, like, Cardinal Official was that man.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Cuckoo Cow from Milwaukee, somewhere in my projects.
Oh, yeah. Right. Milwaukee. Yeah, Milwaukee. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Damn, I forgot about that.
Where's the Arrested Development was from Milwaukee, I think.
Arrested Development was...
They made a song called Tennessee, but I think that crew was from Milwaukee.
No, the lead guy was from Milwaukee.
Okay, Speech.
Speech.
Speech was from Milwaukee.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you know, like it took a while for dudes, you know, with the exception of California, those other places, like even when the Ghetto Boys first came out, like I think they were one of the earliest people. You knew they were from Houston, and there was no pretending.
Right.
They weren't putting on an accent.
Right.
It was straight up Houston.
But they had Jay Prince.
Yeah, but that's what they were from the beginning.
I know.
They
I'm
were
saying
always Houston. There was never any question.
Yeah, and all of them had solo careers before Jay Prince brought them together to make Ghetto Boys.
Well, there had been a Ghetto Boys operating. Like you can go back and listen to a Ghetto Boys album. Like you know, what was the name of that joint? They had an album before My Mind Playing Tricks on Me, and if you look at the crew, it's not Scarface and Willie D on. I don't remember
Bushwick.
seeing.
No, Jay Prince brought all three of them together.
I'm trying to think. I think Bushwick was in it though.
He was the original member.
I think Bushwick was there in that album that's in my head that I'm picturing. But I see a light skinned dude that I know wasn't part of the group later. And Scarface wasn't on that album.
Yeah, he wasn't, and Willie D wasn't. Right. But I wonder what happened to them, the original ones.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but that's
the name was so big. That's why he wanted to keep the name alive.
Yeah, and they were shocking. Like the stuff they were extremely violent.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
And Willie D carried it on.
Yeah, he talking about throwing babies out the window.
Yes, sir.
Stuff that I was like, what is going on?
But so you talked about Dungeon Family, and we went to Atlanta, but we can't go to Atlanta without mentioning the King.
Hey, I know exactly. When you say the King, a lot of people think of T.I.
No.
But when DL says the King, he's talking about the one and only Gucci Mane.
The King.
Now let's talk about that. This is a break off from the traditional posse that we've been talking about. Now, we talked about how the centerpiece of your posse can be a record label. Mm-hmm. It could be a producer. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have artists out here that are such great A&Rs. And maybe these posses, like some of these dudes may not die for Gucci Mane.
Huh.
But listen to this list of people.
And that's a part of the list.
Right. Listen to this list of people that come from the Gucci Mane
camp,
so to speak. Yeah. Right. Young Thug.
And hold on. I'm sorry. But as you go through this list, what I want you and
Young Thug did form his own. He had his own posse.
Oh, absolutely. But I want you to think about if it wasn't for this partial list of people from the Gucci camp, do you think Atlanta would still be in a place that it is without this list of people?
Okay, you got Gucci Mane first, Young Thug, Waka Flocka. Now here's one that's controversial. Not technically a Gucci Mane protege or somebody, but the first time you heard this person, it was not on his song. It was on Gucci Mane's song.
Gucci
Young Jeezy.
Right.
So these are people that maybe don't have the same career without Gucci Mane.
I'm telling
Young Thug, Waka Flocka fame, Young Jeezy, Pooh Shiesty, OJ the Juice Man, Fujiano, fairly recent guy, Migos, Chief Keef, all the way in Chicago, another person who has own posse also. Asian Doll, Mike Will Made It, Zaytoven, like all the producers.
Yeah.
I was Ray Sherman,
Camp.
Gucci Mane.
Camp, man. The Camp.
Did they come off Gucci Mane?
Camp. I'm telling you, the Camp.
But even just that list of
Right.
people, like these are people that their affiliation with Gucci Mane gave them the foot in the door. And they posse'd up. Like, you know that Chief Keef had a posse.
Yeah.
Because without his posse, you don't get King Von. You know, it was a little Dirt down.
Dirt was first.
Right.
Yeah.
So, cats had mad posse, Young Thug. You know, so without Gucci.
Arguably one of the biggest artists in the world at one point.
Right. Without Gucci.
Yeah.
Does Young Thug get that foot in the door? And without that, do we get to know Gunna?
Right.
Yeah. I don't need like Gucci. Yeah, Gucci.
The King.
Yeah,
I don't care what you
Gucci.
say, the King. And
He
my measurement.
he might just be the king of the South.
He is, man. And my measurement of the King, I'm talking about not just your career, but your contribution to the game, which is giving us all these classic people, artists, whatever you want to call them, albums or whatever. This dude been to prison, I think, 3 times, and we talked about it before. You take too much time
falling
away.
off.
Yeah,
we talk about reasons that you could fall off.
Taking too much time away.
And Gucci Mane has done every last thing that we listed as a cause for everybody else to fall off, and he's still here.
Still here.
Still here.
Still dropping artists.
Yep.
You know? So, the King. And I hate, the King, man.
Hey, and when we half of those, like when we start talking about that list of people, it brings me to another centerpiece that has a nice group around them, and that's quality control.
Absolutely. Quality control, Gucci Mane. Like, bro, like, come on, bro.
How much did Gucci Mane had to do with quality control, though?
The Camp, man. The Camp.
I mean, because all of them weren't
okay,
his.
what's the biggest quality control artist? I'll give you a second.
Migos.
What you got listed on that?
You got, but don't forget Lil Baby, City Girls, Lil Yachty.
Didn't I tell you about the City Girls before that? Rest in peace, Insane Wayne, man. City Girls.
My boy Duke
Insane
Deuce
Wayne told me about City Girls 2-3 years before they came when they was looking for a hit.
Leighton Green.
Man.
Like, quality control is deep. But here's the thing. Are they a posse by our definition? Like, if somebody stepped to Duke Deuce, do the Migos and City Girls and Lil Baby make diss records about that person? I don't know. I think that might just be a record label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't see all of them.
Cause
like Lil Yachty and like,
Lil Baby and Offset from the Migos don't have the best relationship.
Right.
Never have.
Right. So they're not really a posse. That's just a label. They ain't posse'd up. They not one,
Right.
They're not for each other like that.
Yeah. But it's a clan.
Yeah, it's a clan. That good music, those good music dudes roll for each other a little bit. Because, I know Pusha T took on all of what anybody better not say nothing bad about my boy Kanye.
Absolutely.
He was coming for you.
Yes, sir.
And I think Big Sean repped the posse pretty good.
Who?
Big Sean, Pusha T.
Who?
You mean who? Tiana Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Like they all rep the brand.
Yeah.
Pretty solid, I believe.
I enjoy good music when they were all doing collaborative efforts.
Yeah,
I
that
really
was
did.
I think they were an official posse until it
dismantled
and kind of fell apart. You know what I'm
saying?
saying? Like we talked about the Ghetto Boys, but we ain't really talk about the rest of the Rap A Lot posse family.
Hell yeah.
UGK was part of that. Now Zero, for those of you not in the know, like you heard of the Ghetto Boys, you heard of UGK.
Right.
Man, don't forget Zero. Zero is
underground king too.
My boy Devin the Dude.
Yes, sir.
Trey the Truth.
Yes, sir.
Like, and I can imagine if you mess with any one of them cats,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Houston boys gonna come for you.
Mm-hmm.
They posse'd up for sure.
I miss Pimp C, man.
Oh yeah.
That dude has so much to say about what's going on.
Hey, Cash Money is definitely a posse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. When you go back and look at the early days, you start thinking BG, Lil Wayne,
Turk,
Juvenile, Turk, Manny Fresh, Baby.
Right.
Like, that's a posse, man.
That's all you needed.
That's a posse. You ain't messing with none of them.
Right. Yeah, that's all you needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're all coming for you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's good. It's good to have a posse. And when you solo, it's harder. You know, because now, like when you're a part of a posse like that,
right?
Like we just got finished talking about Cash Money. When you have a posse, you have room to fall off a little bit and still stay relevant.
Yeah, lean on your teammate.
Right, like Juvenile was the dude for Cash Money.
Absolutely.
Then, as he wasn't the dude anymore, they still had Wayne.
Yeah.
BG had his little time. You know, and it keeps everybody alive.
Right.
Then Lil Wayne split off. He got a Young Money posse.
Yeah, man.
And the Young Money posse is, now they ride for each other too.
Yeah,
they ride for each other. So they're official posse.
Right, right.
Drake, Nicki Minaj, wasn't Tiger part of that posse?
I was about to say that. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Ego got in his way.
But that's a posse.
Yes, sir.
And you know if you come for one of them, like you ain't coming for Wayne and none of those, you're gonna have to deal with all of them.
Right.
You know, and even though Drake probably don't want no beef, he ain't gonna let nobody mess with Wayne.
Oh hell no.
You see what I'm saying? It's time to make a diss record.
Right.
Just like that. So yeah, man, being like having that posse means that when your time is up, you can pass that energy and momentum on to the next person, which is kind of what happened with Method Man. You know, Method Man was the original guy,
right?
But then it was Raekwon's turn. It was Ghostface's turn. It was the Jizz's turn,
right? And
it all kept Wu-Tang in your face,
right?
Even if you're not getting a Wu-Tang album. Because you get any one of their albums, any one of those dudes could show up on the album.
Right.
That's the other cool thing about having a posse.
Right.
You know, like getting the album instead of just your favorite artist. If you have a group of people that you like, you get an album from one of them. You know, some of those other dudes gonna show up.
Right.
At some point.
Yes, sir.
You know, NWA, the Death Row days. You had Above the Law, kind of affiliated, you know, and think about it, DOC.
That's why I was, that's why I was pointing. And he wasn't even Cali.
DOC
from Texas.
But that's all part of that crew.
Yes,
so
sir.
it didn't just, you know, it didn't matter if NWA is dropping something or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's Ruthless early on, ain't it?
Yeah, it was Ruthless first.
Right, right. That's Eazy-E.
Yeah. And then you got what's your boys from Ohio?
Yeah, Bone Thugs.
Man,
But you know, that's something you would have thought that somebody else from Ohio, as hot and as popular as they were,
you
would have thought they would have brought somebody else in. But the thing is, they had a style that was so their own.
Yes.
That you can't be affiliated with them.
Right.
Everybody who shared that sound was already in the group.
Well,
all the bones.
Yeah, and in my opinion, they kind of took, and I'm not going to say stole because it's all Midwest. Illinois and Ohio. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Midwest.
You talking about that? You thinking about Twisted, Speed Knot, Monsters, Do or Die, those cats, Crucial Conflict. They had a style, but theirs was more rapping, and Busy Bone took the cadence and added harmony.
He just,
like they said,
a product of
the Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah, it's a product.
They took the cadence and added the harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And it was something that nobody had ever seen before.
And so I had that argument with somebody about Drake adding the harmonizing and all this to music. I was like, so you don't listen to music because first of all, I'll go not too far back when I mentioned Bone Thugs and Harmony. Listen to their name.
Right.
Listen to their name. Do you think they would have been on Ready to Die? I mean, Life After Death, if they weren't the hottest thing in the Midwest at that time?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I kudos to Biggie for not getting up there trying to sing.
He couldn't.
I mean, I just appreciate him not trying to get on what they were on. You know what I'm saying? But speaking of that singing style of rapping, we named somebody that was in it. Domino.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Domino. The ghetto jams about to slam with some notes and then diggity.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Nate Dogg was doing it before we even knew who Nate Dogg was.
But see, we didn't hear Nate Dogg rapping though. But then I guess Domino didn't really rap either.
Man, that's harmony rapping.
Yeah, but I guess Nate Dogg and Domino kind of go in the same. But Domino was before Nate Dogg though.
Right. Well, maybe he had more commercial success before Nate Dogg. I
mean, before, like, the first time I remember really hearing Nate Dogg and paying attention was Regulate.
Yeah.
Ghetto Jam was already out.
But he was singing before that. That's how he ended up on Regulate.
Right, but he wasn't singing on nothing we heard.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, that was a regional thing.
And, you know, it's funny. I kind of look at, and now that I'm looking back on, I don't remember Domino doing a whole bunch of, well, I guess he kind of did rap more than Nate Dogg. I always consider Domino more rapper, Nate Dogg more straight up singer.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. But Nate Dogg added that.
Hey, but that whole, I would almost say that those Compton, you know, it's hard to say who the posses were in L.A. because they might all be Compton, but some of them one set of Bloods or Crips, some of them from other sets, and they don't always get along the way that we think. As outsiders, we think, well, all of them from Compton. That don't mean they were all down with each other.
Yes, sir.
You know, there were certain crews that, you know, you knew who was down for who. Like, you know, and like I said, Bud the Law and NWA, they were posse. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you know, DJ Quick was from Compton. He wasn't part of that posse.
Right.
You know, MC8 wasn't part of that posse.
Yeah.
Mac 10 wasn't part of that posse.
Right.
So, you know, it's kind of hard to tell who's who, which is why people go over there and get messed up so bad. You don't know who's down with who.
The most dangerous place in the world.
Yeah, you need a rule book before you visit Cali.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Check in.
Oh man, like that's so real. It's so real. You need to truly understand. I remember I was sitting there. One time we were eating at IHOP, and my boy Mike Nice had on a Calvin Klein hat. And a group of dudes kept looking over like, you know, and they asked you where you from. And, you know, of course, where we're from, where you from means, oh, I'm from Tarboro.
Right.
When they ask that, though, they trying to figure out what neighborhood you from, what set you claiming.
Yeah.
And then he politely told my boy, hey, man, that, you know, once he established that we were from out of town and no threat, he was like, yo, around here, that CK stand for Crip Killer. And if you ain't no Crip Killer, you need to take that hat off.
Right.
Thank you. You know, and it ain't no get up like, I wear whatever I want to, fool. Nah, ain't none of that. You take the hat off and you appreciate that person not being a savage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, it's hard to tell who's who in Cali. So it's hard to identify the posses. Like I said, you know, you just got to see who's rocking together.
Right.
And then sometimes cats rock together like YG and Nipsey Hussle, cool. Roddy Ricch, DJ Mustard. Like that's a small, you know, they got a small little posse, but they also have other gangs that they're affiliated with, and it's not the same. Right.
It's crazy.
You know? But they rock with each other. So it's confusing over there. I can't speak on it too much because I don't you know, I don't know who's down with who really.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, as you start moving across the Midwest, though, I think Nelly did a good job bringing his posse up. You know, Murphy Lee, the Saint Lunatics, and all of them.
Right.
You know, but that's another guy I'm talking about. When you come, you already got a group. If you happen to be the guy, they will come for the rest of the group.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess for us, it was kind of tough for us because all our biggest artists since, you know, after payroll, all our biggest artists didn't have acts associated with them, so we couldn't send a group of people off to the big show.
Right.
It's always one at a time around here. Yeah. So anybody in the game today, hey, it's best to be a part of something.
So you saying gang up. Gang. gang,
gang.
You listen to Cal J, you gonna end up with a Rico.
Posse up. Posse up.
You gonna end up with a Rico charge.
Posse is not a gang. You know what I'm saying?
Gang. That's why everybody scream gang.
But best believe, if you do have a gang, a group, a posse, a crew,
clicks.
If one of y'all make it, everybody else's chances just increase times 3.
Absolutely. Especially if we're putting out quality music.
Yeah. It just takes one of y'all. Mm-hmm. So I want you to remember this. When that person does start getting that sign, if you're a part of the camp, don't hate.
Right.
Don't hate. Don't walk away talking about it should have been you.
Yeah, man.
It will be you eventually. If you play ball, go to those shows that they do. He might be the only one getting paid right now. Go to the show.
Yes, sir.
Open up.
Mm-hmm.
Be the hype man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say in North Carolina, the clique that I see, or the posse that I see, and it's not really too much rap beef associated with them, but they just do stuff. They move kind of in unison. Is South Coast Music Group.
I would say my man Waleed had a nice little posse going too. The others records, they didn't go national or anything, but I can say in Greensboro, you know, everybody was down with others records.
Right.
You know, it was a unit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a show enough unit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you were subject to hear any one of those guys on the others tracks.
Right.
You know, I hate that. I would love to have seen the original roster stay together to enjoy some of the success that came later.
Right.
You know, it was a long time coming.
Absolutely. I'm glad they finally listened to you.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't me that was
Waleed said it, man. We got it on audio now. Waleed said it. If it weren't for Cal J putting out them damn mixtapes and that sound that we say North Carolina was missing, that hit that came out of that camp might not have existed. You know what I'm saying?
Now that camp does actually, it's probably the closest thing we have to a posse after payroll. Considering you got Luke Nasty, he came from the 336 boys. Mm-hmm. Rico Barrino is not signed to the label, but he is very definitely closely affiliated. My man Osha Baz, Cranston Giuliani back in the day. Phil Eyes just make the beats. I mean, they they had a crew, man.
Yeah.
P. Wanda. Man, just like they had a crew, man. They had a crew for sure.
Yeah.
You know, Ski came back, tried to start a posse, the Now City posse, Missy Wreck.
Yes, sir.
And
what's your boy name?
The rapper.
Hot Right.
Hot Right.
Yes, sir. Hot Right was buzzing for a minute.
Yeah, he was buzzing.
Yes, sir. He was.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
So the Now City posse, and they were from Winston, and you know, I can imagine you not messing with one of them without having to deal with smoke from the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they were definitely posse'd up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, being part of a posse is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always kind of been a solo act, but I did see what it was like to be affiliated with a posse. At Jams, we had a mix squad.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, all the DJs. And at the time, like, you got heavy hitter DJs and all these DJ crews now. But
and the Butter
this
team.
was the Butter team.
Right.
And Butter Team's been now. They might predate the Mix Squad shoot. Mm-hmm. That ain't no might in it. They going on 30 years.
Right.
So
yeah, man.
So so that was my chance. That was the first time I was a part of a posse. Well, no, I take that back because I was also a part of that Dirty Hands movement.
Okay.
In East North Carolina.
Okay.
You know, with Sly and Doctor Who and the Monk and Shep and Rush.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so that was a posse right there, and you not messing with none of them dudes without catching some smoke.
Literally.
Literally. You know what I'm saying? My man Mercer, shout out.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Lil Merce too, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, so being a posse, man, being a part of the posse, and I think at the time my brother Kyle, Doctor Who, was the man who would have opened the door for everybody else.
Yeah,
man, Dennis Sherrod, all them guys, man. Like man. If Kyle had finished what was happening, no doubt the whole posse would have enjoyed some prosperity because everybody in there was dope.
Yeah,
there was no fall off.
No weak link.
Yeah,
man.
So,
yes, sir.
And everybody would have their time because, sound changes where you always had somebody who had something a little bit different.
Yes.
So, yeah, being a part of a posse, man, can take you a long way. So if you're part of a posse.
Gang.
And you see somebody getting theirs, man, don't hate. Congratulate and get on the bus.
Suave
take
House.
Take that ride. We ain't even get the Suave House, man.
Yes,
8 Ball NJG.
Yes, sir.
My boy Tila. Ali. A lot of them were signed to, well, some of them, you had Suave House, I think Relativity was the big label that that picked them up. Let me see, is there anybody we forgot?
We went through a lot, man. The ones that we forgot, y'all let us know about it.
Yeah.
Let us know about it.
I can't call Yo Gotti's signees a posse yet because they just all over the place. He got Yeet, Snooty Wild, Playboy Cardi, Mexican OT. They from all over the place.
Money bag, yo.
And Memphis is another place where you want to look at it and say that,
Forgot one. Yeah.
3-6 Mafia.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say nothing to the end.
Now when we talk about Memphis, but that's the thing about Memphis, kind of like California. Just cousin cats from Memphis don't mean they rock with each other.
North Memphis
as you've seen with Young Dolph.
Yes, sir.
And Yo Gotti.
Yes, sir.
They do not rock with each other.
Yes, sir.
You got 8 Ball and MJG there. Like Memphis got a lot of hip hop on the map. Mm-hmm. But are they posse? Not all of them.
Yeah.
But when let's take 3-6 for example, though. You got the entire 3-6 Mafia. But there's solo artists in there too.
Yeah. Gangsta Boo, Project Pat. Project Pat wasn't really an official member of 3-6 Mafia, but he is definitely part of the posse. And you're not messing with Project Pat and think the rest of 3-6 ain't getting ready to stomp you. Yes, sir. What's your boy name, man? Why
Crunchy?
No, not Crunchy. Crunchy was the goon. He was the shooter.
I like Crunchy.
Yeah, hell yeah, he was the shooter. What's your boy name, man?
DJ Paul, Juicy J?
Juicy J. Juicy. Yeah. Man. Juicy J said he got his cadence.
Him and DJ Paul were they were the centerpieces.
Absolutely.
Bringing all that together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How you patent or copyright a flow?
I don't know.
Bro, he said.
But if he did it, genius.
He did it. I said, oh my God.
That's genius.
Never gotta make no more music.
Is there any posse we forgot about?
Tell us, man.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Tell us.
You know what I'm saying? I think we hit the main ones. I can always get back to New York for a little while.
No, we done.
You sure? Come on, man. Yeah, hold on now.
That's over, man.
Don't forget the top priority posse. MC Light and RDO2 and
yeah, man. New York has had its time, man. We gave him 25 minutes at the beginning of the show, man. Leave him alone. We down south now, baby.
Okay, here's one we forgot. DJ Khaled was able to put a posse together.
We the best. Yeah.
And he even brought in some folks that weren't from Florida.
Absolutely. And you know, Khaled ain't even from Florida. Khaled from Louisiana.
Khaled used to live in Greensboro.
Yeah, I remember
North Carolina.
that story. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I don't know where DJ Khaled is from originally.
Yeah, it's Louisiana.
He's all over the place.
Yes, sir.
You know, so but he definitely got a movement going.
Yes, sir.
And I can imagine that, you know, Rick Ross and whoever's traveling with the We the Best posse at that particular time not gonna let anything happen to DJ Khaled. Sure.
And okay, so we gotta go back to New York because we didn't mention one, which was Rockefeller. Because you couldn't say nothing.
You got Benny Siegel, Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak.
Not just Benny Siegel, the whole Philly at that time for popping artists was associated with Rockefeller. Chris and Neef, State Property, all them cats, bro.
What was the name of that Chris and Neef group? Young
Gunners. Young Gunners. Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
Golly, yeah.
Petey Crack.
Petey, oh.
Man. Yes, sir.
Petey Crack.
What?
There's always a dude in the posse, too, that's really dope, that don't seem to get up there like everybody else. I think for We the Best is Gunplay. He's that Petey Crack.
Yeah.
You know, that dude that's like so dope, but stay in something all the time.
Because what was it? Bible on my dad.
Bible on my dad's, man.
My God, and now he's just, whew.
Yeah, that dude's wild.
Yeah, man. Wild. Done.
Yes, yeah. We could go on, but now it's time for you to have a conversation with your peoples.
Yes, sir.
So y'all know that this show, what we do is we start conversations.
Yep.
We're a true podcast
on this that you ain't even think about.
Yeah, something to talk about. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, carry on.
I like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're done. You carry on.
Absolutely.
And it's the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
We out of here.